My aunt stole my fiancé for her daughter, but now everyone's crying because I took away their trust fund and they realized my ex was a loser. I, 28F, was engaged to Ron, 27M, for a year. We met in college, became friends, but weren't very close. We started dating after college and had been together for 4 years. Last year, we got engaged and celebrated with a small ceremony with family and close friends. My aunt was also invited. Since attending my engagement, my aunt was impressed by my ex's charm. She couldn't stop praising how handsome and wealthy he was, which was unusual because she had never been so affectionate with me before. Her daughter, Lucia, 24F, is extremely beautiful but as dumb as a rock. My aunt always compared us in every aspect. I was good at academics, even though she was 4 years younger than me in school. My aunt compared our grades and claimed her daughter was better than me. The worst part was when she compared Lucia's 8th grade report card with my 12th grade one and declared that Lucia was better. The joke's on her because Lucia couldn't even graduate high school. Ron and I were planning our wedding for October because I had to visit the UK for a summer program. Everything was fine between us when I left in June. We talked once a day due to the time difference. 2 weeks after I left, we began to drift apart. I asked him what was wrong, but he said nothing, just that he was stressed about work. I thought the distance had affected our feelings, but I didn't take it seriously because it wasn't a new relationship. I figured we'd resolve it when I returned. A week before my program ended, he stopped talking to me. I felt so childish, wanting to resolve things, but he chose the easiest way out and disappeared. I've always been very proud, and even though it hurt, I never chased anyone. I kept living in my fantasy that he'd come back to me, but he didn't. Instead, after some time, my aunt showed up at my house with a wedding invitation. I found out he was marrying my cousin Lucia. What the hell? In the age of emails, she comes with a printed invitation to see my disappointment in person. It was one of the few times I felt completely stunned. I was in shock, wondering how could he fall in love with my cousin who can barely afford her meals? But my aunt soon gave me the answer. She said, "I'm so sorry, dear. I understand your pain, but what can we do when people fall out of love? Maybe he couldn't handle the distance. Don't be mad at your cousin." Ron was the one who sought out Lucia for coffee because he had nothing else to do after work. You know how beautiful my princess is. You can't blame Ron for falling in love with her. I looked at her with red, tear-filled eyes. Normally, I don't tolerate my aunt and would interrupt her, but this time I was so shocked I couldn't say a word. I just stared at her and accepted her cruel and sweetened insults. She said, "Believe me, dear, I love you as much as I love Lucia." I yelled at her when she told me about Ron, but he came to my house and politely confessed his deep love for Lucia. You know how humble and sweet he is. My heart melted instantly when he knelt down and asked for Lucia's hand like an old-school gentleman. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I imagined Ron doing everything she described. She tried to hug me, but I blocked her. I wiped my tears and composed myself, saying I had something to attend to and asked her to leave. She told me, "If you're thinking of contacting Ron, don't." "I blocked you." I asked him to. "It's not right for my son-in-law to be in contact with his ex, you know." I told her, "Screw you and your son-in-law. I have much more to do in life than chase after other people's men." She got up and said, "Don't be discouraged, my love. I understand it will be hard for you to find another man at your age and with this appearance, but don't worry, there are plenty of divorced men looking for a second chance at love. I'm sure you'll find a good man like that." I yelled at her to get out. I deeply regretted losing my composure and giving her the satisfaction of seeing my vulnerability. But it's okay, we all have weak moments in life when we just can't stand firm. This news was much more painful than if he had cheated. Not that it would have been easy if he had cheated with any other woman, but it would have been far better than this. I would have cut him off and been sure never to see him again. But now, who knows? My aunt could show up at any time to rub her daughter's prize in my face. All our friends and family knew about Ron and me. Now I feel stupid for having had such a grand engagement. Now that he's marrying Lucia, the story is evident to everyone about what has happened in the background. My aunt has been weaving a different story, that Ron found comfort in Lucia because I was too stubborn and egocentric. Ron didn't want me to go to the summer program in the UK, but I went anyway and stopped talking to him. She even claimed that Ron suspected I was involved with someone in the UK. He heard a guy's voice in the background every time he called and things like that. I've never been in contact with most of my relatives since I moved out of the house. Even as a teenager, I was distant from them because I didn't like their trivial conversations. Therefore, it was easier for my aunt to sell her lies. It feels so terrible. I know this is all for the better in the end. I got rid of the cheater, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. But you know what? When you're in the middle of the dark phase, it's just impossible to navigate through it, even though you know everything will be okay in a while. You can click on share more to see if there is a part 2.